everybody, Ashley, Dirt Therapist here. Today I am working on getting ready for our move, and this project is to just clear out the parts of the garden that need to be thinned, that are getting overgrown and too crowded because it's not healthy for the plants. What I'll be using for this project, I have my Felco pruners, I have a little spade, then I also have a bigger shovel. First, I'm going to pull back these petunias. This is Proven Winners Supertunias, Bubblegum Vista, and they're beautiful. This is only 2 plants. This was 2 4-inch plants that have just grown and thrived. And here we are right in the heat of the summer, and they're still looking glorious. So I'm just going to push the parts that have grown back toward the iris. I'm going to pull those back a bit, and then I'm going to be showing you how to divide the iris. So let's get started. Once you've gotten the other plants cleared back enough, first, any dead leaves or anything like that, just pull those aside, put them in a pile to go in the garbage, because you certainly don't want those to stay around. And if you leave these in your garden to decay on their own, a lot of times that causes disease and pest issues. So it's best to get rid of these and put them in your trash. I don't even put them in the compost. Then you're going to take your big shovel and go, you can, if you have mulch, this is leaf mulch, you can pull your mulch back so that way you don't lose it in the process. Then just take your shovel, dig down around the base. You don't have to dig terribly deep for iris because they're fairly shallow rooted. And when you see them start moving like that, you know you've got the roots loosened. So here, this is, the whole clump has lifted up. This seems like a really big clump, so I think I'm gonna have to keep digging a little bit. Iris are really beautiful perennials. They bloom in the spring after your tulips and daffodils have finished, but before a lot of your spring flowers have started. So I love the timing of irises. They're easy to care for, but they do grow and multiply quickly. So you want to do this every few years. You just watch how they're looking. And when they start looking kind of crowded, or if they aren't blooming as much as they used to, it's a good time to go ahead and divide them. Here's a rock that used to be more noticeable that has gotten grown over. Okay, here it is. My goodness, look at that clump of iris. That's enormous. So now again, I'm going to pull out anything that's dead or damaged. And then here you see the roots growing. That's what's under the ground. Then further up, the part that kind of looks like a weird potato, that's the tuber. Iris grow from tubers. And here, you don't need to manhandle it. You don't need to cut it apart. If you just gently start wiggling and loosening, most of the time they'll separate on their own. So then you can gently separate the roots. If some of the roots get broken, it's not the end of the world, but you want to save as many as you can because that's how our iris get water and get nutrients. And transplanting, it is a change for them. It does cause a bit of stress. So you've got to have some roots. Okay, so here we have one separated tuber. These are still connected, so I'm going to leave those. And then we'll have a beautiful plant to plant somewhere else where there is more space. And since we're going to be moving, some of the extra ones I take off, I'm going to take with us to our new house to continue the iris gardens there. And then some of them I'm going to put right back in this spot so they can continue to grow and thrive here. And once I get these separated out, you're not really going to even notice that they were thin. It's just going to look a little healthier. One thing also, when they get too thick and crowded, especially if you have them in a mixed bed with other stuff that grows in and fills in, that can lead to pest and disease problems. So sometimes you'll start to see some of these little brown spots that are caused by fungus or bacteria. So that's something, thinning them out also keeps them their healthiest. So I've got this one separated. It has leaves, it has its tuber, it has its roots. So then I'll take my pruners. The carpenter bees, you saw one fly by, they're loving this salvia. And it's so cool that, I don't know, like they don't mind, I'm not bothering them, they're not bothering me. We're just kind of coexisting. And that's what gardening and nature is kind of all about. And this, earlier today I was sitting out here with my kids, and it's such a cool lesson to be able to show them that bees aren't something that we need to scream and run from, that they're doing their job and we can just sit and enjoy it. So back to the iris. So this is an old flower stalk from earlier this spring. It's shriveled up, brown. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that off just a few inches high. Then I'm going to cut the leaves. I'm going to leave them, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches tall. But what that's going to do, that's going to take stress off the plant when I replant it. It's not going to be trying to keep big, long, healthy leaves alive. There's enough there that it can absorb sun, but it will let the plant focus on growing the roots, because that's what we needed to focus on for it to survive. And this also is so much easier to give to a friend or to pack up in a box to take to our new garden. This is so much easier than trying to have a plant, you know, with big long leaves that are going to get bent and broken. And if you try to replant them with the long leaves, those leaves are probably going to brown and not look great. This way you can easily position it, get it planted, and then new leaves will grow. These will probably grow new leaves this season even, and then they'll go dormant for the winter, and in the spring new leaves will come up, new flowers, and they'll be beautiful. So here we have one. I'm going to add the leaves that I cut to my trash pile. Since there is a bit of damage on them, I don't want to put those in the compost and spread that. And then I'm going to put my separated tubers. So again, you just kind of dig around and you'll feel where they're starting to loosen up. They'll give just a little bit, and then you can pull them apart. Okay, so here's a section. Here you see the original tuber that I planted. Then they produce little baby tubers off the edges. And this one, it's still connected to the main tuber, but eventually the main tuber will get old and die, and it'll rot away. So this one, here we have leaves, we have a nice big tuber, and we have a lot of healthy roots. So it's ready to be on its own. So I'm just going to gently break it off. You see that little connection point? And then this one can be planted on its own. That leaf's kind of damaged, we'll pull it off completely. This one, since it's also snapped, I'll cut it off right where the damage was. Then I'll leave these others a little bit longer. There we have another one. that, again, that's a flower stalk. So you can tell those are different than the flat leaves. So I always cut those off fairly short because that's done. It's not gonna serve any more purpose. Okay, we finished that and that whole clump that we dug up. We have a big pile here for the garbage. Then we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This one could be split into more, but since they're still well connected and this main tuber looks fairly healthy, I'm gonna leave it. That was 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I can't believe that. And that's all from one plant. So those will all bloom the same. I'll try to find a picture and I'll share it of what it looked like in the spring when it was blooming. But now where I had one pretty big clump, I now have 13 individual plants that I will be planting. I'm gonna put a couple of these back in this spot and all the rest will be taken to the new property. This is also a great lesson. If you would like to add some more iris to your yard and you happen to see a friend or a neighbor that has a color or a type that you would like, I would just ask them. Say, hey, do you mind if we share some of those or if I can take some of those? Because anyone that has iris they can be divided. They need to be divided to stay their healthiest. And it's a great way to share. I have shared some of our irises everywhere we've lived, and as you can see, I still have plenty. So it's a great plant to share. And iris is a nostalgic plant. Like, it's one that we often remember from our grandmother's gardens or our mom's garden. So it's a fun one that has a lot of nostalgia for me. But that's how you divide them. I will show you how to plant them in another video. And then soon we'll be heading to our new property, and I can't wait. Thanks so much, and have a good day.